Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hard Hats in High Tech, the podcast where we uncover the strategies, technologies, and people shaping modern construction. I'm your host, Bernardita Calzon, and today I'm speaking with Luscha Matsane from TriStar Construction, a company specializing in commercial, retail, industrial, and multi unit housing developments. Luksha is a quantity surveyor who's been using RIB Candy to modernize her approach to estimating and cost planning. Today, she's going to be sharing how Candy has allowed her to speed up the takeoff process, manage changes late in the project, and improve collaboration with her team. Hi, Luksha, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining me today. I know you're joining us from a construction site, so that's so cool.
Yeah, it's quite noisy outside.
I can imagine. Um, okay, so before we get into our conversation, we usually ask our guests to give a little bit of an overview into who they are and why they are the perfect person for this episode. So, would you like to start with that?
Sure. I don't know why I'm the perfect person for the episode, but all I can say is that I'm Lushka. I've been in the industry for over 8 years now. I'm a quantity surveyor, and yeah, I've been using Candy for a while now.
Okay, then let's start with something more broad. When did you first start using Candy and what drew you to the platform?
So I started using Candy, let's say 2019. I had just joined a new company and they were only using Candy. So I had no reason not to use it. I mean, it was part of the job description. I had no clue how to use it at first, but it was actually an easy transition from where I started to get into it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a little bit of your experience when you first started using it later, because now I want to give maybe the listeners a little bit of an overview of maybe what type of projects do you work on when using Candy and how does it support you throughout the project life cycle?
So when I started, we were mainly just doing like residential projects. I was back then I was mainly using it for like measurements and not necessarily creating VOQs, but just doing valuations and measurements. And then especially for subcontractors. And gradually as I grew into my career handling bigger commercial projects, I started using it for like cost reports and payment certificates. And yeah, it was quite because at the previous company that I worked at, we used like Excel for payment certificates and all of that. But then using RIB like Candy and QTO and also integrating it with Smart, it made life so much easier.
So
Yeah.
it helped you improve all of your processes instead of just one stage.
Yeah. Yeah. It did help improve the processes.
Okay, you mentioned a lot of things there, like a BOQ, quantity takeoff, some really valuable concepts there. So, what features in Candy specifically have helped you to improve these processes?
So QTO really helps with measurements. It makes it a lot easier to track as to where we are and what you're trying to predict in terms of what's happening on site, compared to doing everything on Excel. Like sometimes things get lost, or when you're trying to relay the message to someone else, it's hard to explain what these measures mean. But on Q2, everything is detailed on the drawing, so the measures just make sense. And then in terms of just Candy itself, it just everything works there. Everything is just integrated well, I'd say. I can do payment certificates, I can do the valuation, I can do cost reports on one item. I don't need to interchange it between a number of different documents. So yeah.
So, would you say that this has also having this integrated approach where you can manage everything in one platform helped you maybe reduce errors or make your work more effective?
Work more effective. I wouldn't say necessarily say reduce hours because I mean I've used it for so long that I can't even comprehend what life was before. So in terms of work more effective, definitely. Because I mean, if everything is integrated, there's no way you could miss something from one thing on the other. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, I would like to maybe ask you to give us a concrete example of a project where Candy helped you improve all of these processes that you're mentioning.
Sure, that's difficult to say. So one interesting thing where I'd say Candy helped, so QTO is integrated with the Candy file. So sometimes when you measure on QTO, you can link it to um, Candy so that the quantities are interlinked. So if there is a drawing change, you can quickly just measure it on a drawing and not have to worry that I need to put that back into Candy. It automatically does that for yourself. So I know most of us don't necessarily use that tool, but that actually is a good tool, especially when you miss things or you're in a rush to do something that could actually help you with the integration.
Okay, so it saves you a lot of time and also eliminates some risks of maybe doing some manual errors or stuff like this, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, now I want to ask you about maybe another aspect that you didn't mention so far, which is collaboration. Do you work with maybe some people outside of your office, and how does Candy support you in collaborating with the different people that you work on in a project?
So I'm a site QS, meaning I'm like the custodian of all the financial dealings on site. So mostly I deal with the PQS who overlooks the financial project for the client. And sometimes I have to sit with them so we can come together agreements with rates and quantities. So using Candy, specifically QTO, actually helps with that because I can sit there, open QTO and then show them my drawings and all of that so that it's easy for me to justify why I'm claiming what I'm claiming.
Mm.
So that's how I'd say I'm working with people outside of the organization or outside of our normal team. Because I can't really show them everything within Candy because that's specifically related to like our company.
Okay, so you need to protect some sensitive data, but you're still allowed to share what you need to share with external stakeholders.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now, I want to go back a little bit to what you mentioned at the beginning. You said that the transition into Candy was easy for you. So, can you talk to us about a little bit more about the learning curve of when you started using Candy, and if you have any advice you would give to a quantity surveyor who's just starting to use the platform? Maybe some tip about
Um,
a future or something?
I'd definitely say go for training because as much as there's a lot going on Candy. So you need some form of foundation as to how the platform actually works. I remember when I started, the first thing they taught me is how to use Q2O and how to just do evaluation. But it was very tricky in terms of learning how to build up rates and all of that. And I remember later on, they ended up giving us training, but learning through training, getting that foundation was actually easier to learn that, but also picking up all the other cool stuff on the platform. So for me, that would be the advice that you should definitely get training, especially for beginners. That would help.
Okay, now what you're telling me there leads me to another question that I want to ask you, specifically maybe about your profession as a quantity surveyor, because I think it's such an interesting profession. So, could you maybe, in your experience, tell us what are the common challenges that quantity surveyors face that are solved with Candy?
That are absolved with Candy. Um, I'd definitely say it's the measuring. So Q2O it's a really easy way to justify why you're stating whatever you're going to pay a client or pay the subcontractor. So that is a, a definite tool that help mitigate any issues. Because sometimes you may justify like, no, I want to pay you this amount of squares, and then they'll come and dispute it with Q2. The information is right there. I can just prove it. I'd be like, this is it. And yeah, that's how I could say that mitigated issues. Another situation would be in terms of cost reporting. If everything is done accurately on Candy, then it's actually very easy to do a cost report. It's easy to justify why we're making losses where we're making losses, why we're making a profit where we're making a profit, and yeah, all the issues that come with construction.
So, Candy, from what I understanding, helps you solve many issues that are related to data too. You have all of the data there, so you can back all of your decisions and also show it to anyone who needs to see it, who might dispute it, or in any case scenario.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, before we finish, if you could describe RIB Candy to another quantity surveyor in one sentence, what would you say to them?
Sure, one sentence. I think.
That's a
There's
difficult
no.
question. You can take some seconds to think about it.
I don't know. I would just say, like, really, there's no alternative. I don't know. It's hard to say just in one sentence because it's been a great tool for me. I haven't really used anything else. It has made my life easier. And I always recommend it. Anyone that hasn't used Candy before, I always be like, okay, no, this is a platform that you need to use. Trust me, it'll make your life easier.
Well, I think that's a good phrase, make your life easier, because from what you've mentioned, it is an integrated tool that allows you to manage all of these processes in one platform from like a single source of truth, which I guess is so good in construction considering how many people and processes need to work together. So yeah, I think that's a really, really good advice.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining me today. This was a brief conversation, but super insightful. I can see that you have extracted a lot of value from the tool. So thank you very much for sharing your experience with us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to our listeners, we'll be back with another episode very soon. Thank you.